Hi guys, welcome back to the Sisters Show. It's your favorite sisters, Jackie and Athena, and we are sitting together on my couch
in Miami.
What is life? I think if you told us this was how our second season was gonna go, we would have genuinely been like laughing in your face, but here we are. Jackie has like the flu. Just kidding.
I don't have the flu. I'm like the healthiest person in the world, but I honestly don't know what happened. Of course, season 2 of Sisters Show, I wake up and I'm like, wait, I have no voice.
Her Aura ring gave her like score 40 when she woke up today. I was like, perfect.
My lowest score ever on the Aura ring. And yeah, so don't get used to this like sexy Rita voice I have, but welcome
Good
back.
Morning.
Good morning. The toad is here. Hopefully my voice will go back to normal on our next episode or maybe the one after that, but we'll just have to see.
So obviously, elephant in the room. Why are we here together? This is not expected, planned. And the fact that we're even in person doing this is such a full circle moment because
it really is.
When we talked about having a podcast originally, like we had to figure out all the logistics of doing it virtually, and it was like
really hard. It was
the editing was genuinely, I wanted to die. But now that we're in person, I am so happy, and I just still can't believe I'm like, someone pinch me, because it's so crazy to me.
Which I think is so important for us to go over that's what our first episode is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, the topic of, manifesting and how powerful our words are and just like what you're telling yourself and all that. I know that we're not exactly maybe into the intro of what this first episode is going to be, but it's definitely a full circle moment and absolutely insane. When we decided to do this podcast, I was like walking through one of the hardest years of my life, literally. And it was one of the last things on my mind. And I just was like, no, like it felt right. And honestly, I said this last night to your friend, like whatever you would do for free, that's what you need to be doing for your profession or one of the professions. And I feel like we were just like, no, we are not professionals. We don't know how to do a podcast.
No, like we'll figure it out as we go.
And that's exactly like, I hope to inspire you guys, like do it scared, jump off the cliff, jump out of the plane. We're obviously a little more upgraded here with my raspy ass voice, but like we've got a real setup now. And yeah, no, last season was such a learning curve. And like we would be mid-sentence. You guys don't see this, obviously, on the show, but like mid-sentence, our computers would freeze because in essence, it's Zoom. You're Zooming the podcast episode. And then there was times like where my mic died mid.
There was a lot of times where recording a 30-minute episode would take us, no joke, 2.5 hours. Yeah. And it's frustrating because you want to sit and have a conversation and talk about what you're talking about. And it's like, it was impossible. So yeah, being here and it feeling so aligned that like we started this, we went through our first season, how we did. And we always joked like, we're going to look back and be like, what the F is this? Yeah. But that doesn't scare me. And that doesn't scare us, knowing that like, we're going to make mistakes and look back and be like, we sound like garbage, but here we are. And it's practice and we teach ourselves and we're here. And that's what, when we were kind of, the reason why it took us a little bit to come to this place was because we're in such different places of life now than even we were, forget when I introduced the idea of a podcast, but even when we started recording in September, like this is a completely different era of us. Yeah. And so we've really been trying to hone in on what we want to focus on, what, aligns with who we are. So that's why today, here we are, intro, talking about how powerful your words are and visualizing where you see yourself and the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak to the people close to you that you trust is so important. Absolutely. And that's why I believe I'm here, 20 years old, sitting on this couch in Florida in a place that I couldn't have even written a story of how like my dream life would go and written it better than how it's happening. And I 100% can what's the word? Not attest, but not blame.
Attribute it
to the way that I treated myself and the way that I talked to myself and to Joey and to you, and the way that we, you know, value and know how important the words you say are. So I want to kind of open it up just by giving a summary of why the heck we're here.
Yeah, give the people what they want. Like, what are you doing, bitch? Why are you in South Florida right now? What the hell happened? This is your bougie ass Coral Gables Miami apartment. Like, give them what they want.
So this all started, everything was like a very fast process, like, which is the craziest part to me, because this wasn't something planned. This wasn't something in our, 5-year plan of how life was going to go.
There was no premeditation to this. Yeah.
And so that's what makes it even more wild, is it was an opportunity that was literally placed into our laps. Mm-hmm. So my boyfriend, who we had lived together at home, but we hadn't like moved out yet. So we kind of, had that experience, but obviously it's different when you are living with a big family. So we are very vocal people to each other about what we want and our goals and what things we envision for our future. But this past year was definitely one of just things didn't go, I guess, the way we had thought in certain ways. So he didn't really know what direction he was going to go in as far as career-wise. He loves camera. He loves videography, cinematics, but it wasn't something that we had a clear vision of what that was going to look like for our future. And so basically, one night actually, he showed me this like job that was searching for someone looking for like a videographer, and he came to me. He was like, the opportunities in Miami, like that would be so crazy. And it was through like a mutual friend, so it was like, I don't know if you've ever like heard something in life and you're like, that would be great, wouldn't it? But like it doesn't cross your mind as like, wait, like let me think about it really. It's just like an idea that you're like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool, but like it's like in passing. Mm-hmm. So that was what it was. And then, the next day, it ended up working out that he ended up communicating with the friend that he knew. And slowly it started becoming like something that could be real. So I was very private with that. I'm a very private person when it comes to my life.
Yeah, she really is, honestly.
And even like me texting Jackie, like I don't like to say things to people, and like one, I don't want to get you excited about something that like, who knows, like this is like the beginning budding stages of something. And two, like it's a lot for even me to comprehend. So to say it out loud to someone else makes it real. Yeah. So voice memoing you on my way to work, being like, literally, I remember I voice memoed it.
I have it saved,
and I deleted it because I was like, no, I'm not. I don't think I told you this. Like,
oh no, I didn't know that. But wait a minute, I saved every one though from I have them all.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, wait. So you deleted it.
So I was on my way to work the morning that he came up and was like,
you did send me one though on the way to work.
I took one, and then I was like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to tell you. And like, obviously Sean will know. And I was like, I'm just going to wait until like this is a little more developed, because it was literally the morning after he had like first seen the opportunity. And I was like, no. Well, against my whatever, I was like, no, I'm going to just send it to you. So I deleted it, and I was like, no, I'm going to do it. Took it again, sent it to you, and then Jackie obviously was like the most supportive. Freaked out.
Like,
and the reason why I knew and I felt so safe to tell you was because even the way you responded, which I don't think we've even talked about this.
We haven't. This is great.
Like when you responded to it, you weren't just like selfishly like, oh my gosh, come. Like you were like, no, like you'll know if it's right.
Yeah.
And you'll know if it feels aligned. And like, of course I want you here, but like keep me posted, and like I'm here to like talk things through with you.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
that's what Big Sis is here for.
But I feel like in a selfish way, you could have been like, no, bitch, like get your ass down here.
Get
like,
down here. I don't even care about your happiness. Live next door.
So, and the way things kind of progressed after that was kind of painful. We joke about it, but it was like a 2.5 week process of we didn't tell anyone. So it was interviews and, you know, just going back and forth, just normal job searching things and what comes along with that.
I have to cut you off like we do, and everyone just deal with it, because something just came to my mind that like going off of our words and what we're going to talk about. So when she came again, so sorry about this like raspy ass voice. When she came and said this to me, the voice memo, Sean and I are together 24/7. And so obviously, you know, told him instantly. And I don't know if you remember this, but around the same exact time, we made a group text. And it was me, Sean, my husband, and Joey, her husband, future husband, my brother. And I instantly named our group chat the 305. And no, think about it. Yeah. It's like the password thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if she was going to actually get this opportunity and they were going to do it. But I instantly spoke that.
I do remember.
I spoke that into existence, as silly as naming the group chat the 305. Because I'm like, we're going to be the first 305. And so that's why I want to cut you off, because it goes off of what we're talking about today. And it seems, guys, so insignificant. But when I have a goal or a dream or an aspiration, even something as stupid as naming the group chat as we're sitting, like I'm like this, like biting my nails, waiting for an answer. I'm like, no, fuck it. It's the 305 group chat. And it's actually now the 305 group chat.
Yeah, the name has been the same ever since.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. No. It's just really...
It is. And that time for me was... I'm not a type A, but I am a control freak.
Yeah.
I love to be in control of the situations that I'm in. I don't like not knowing things. And that was the biggest thing for it was a 2 or 3 week period of time where we were nothing was cemented. So
you were in limbo.
Yes. And I was video documenting how I was feeling, but I was so uncertain, and that was what the scariest part was. The scariest part was not even coming here. It was just like I didn't know what it would look like. Like we were talking about the most stupid details. I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, my car's on a lease." And
how my gosh, guys. She's 20 years old, about to move 100 states away from where she grew up, down to South Florida. Literally, I'm 90 miles from Cuba, so she's 4 hours from Cuba. Huge change, right? And this bitch is like, oh my gosh, what about the miles on my lease for my car?
Yeah,
and I'm
that's what I'm thinking about.
I had to ground you. I'm like, Athena, it's not going to be an issue. That's the last thing you need to be worrying about. But that's what happens when you make these kind of decisions. Yeah. I can remember when I was moving my entire family of 6 to the Florida Keys. I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I going to get my nails done?
Yeah. These are the things.
Is that really, Jackie?
Maybe it's a girl thing. I don't know. Maybe it's an us thing.
It might just be a Syphonia sister
because
thing.
Because I'm thinking about the most minute details. Literally.
Not where am I going to live, but oh my gosh, the miles on my car.
Yeah. It was so bizarre. But so during that time, what I kept telling myself, and I literally I think this is what I mean when I say people look at me and they might think I'm delusional when I'm talking.
She's delulu.
I'm so delulu, guys. I could convince myself of anything. And some people might think that's kind of bad, but I think it's
no, your
good.
mind is powerful. That's good.
I literally repetitively every day would wake up and just be like, what's meant to be will be. Mm-hmm. If it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. If it's not meant for us, it's not going to happen. And there's a reason why
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
And we might not know it now, but we'll know it at some point in the future. And that was the only thing that was giving me peace. I would literally wake up and look in the mirror getting ready for work and just repeat it over to myself, silly. But that was what I had to do. No,
it's not silly. I talk about this all the time with my clients.
Because
it matters.
Yes.
The way you speak to yourself, the words you're speaking over your marriage, over your health, over your children, over your boyfriend, over your future. And so I don't care how woo-woo, that's my term, this sounds, but looking in the mirror, I am a successful bad bitch, or what's meant for me will be, I have that written down here, that will free you up.
Should we get that tattooed on us, low-key? Because that's like my like current life mantra is like, what's meant to be will be. And it gives you so much peace.
It frees you up to trust.
It lets you let go of the control. Yeah. Like, I don't need to be in control because I know that if this is meant to happen, it's going to me. And it just gave me so much peace of mind. And it made me be able to just let that go. I don't need to have it figured out. I don't need to know what's going to happen, because when it's meant to happen, if that's the life that is meant for me, I'll be living it.
But there's science with like the law of attraction. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. You know. And I feel like I kind of did it backwards because like I wasn't super knowledgeable about like the terms.
Yeah.
And then now, like when I started like putting things on paper and brain dumping how I was feeling, I'm like, wait, like there's actual explanations for this. And when I started learning about like the law of attraction, and so what that is basically is that like attracts like. So what you project out, your thoughts, your words, whatever you are thinking and saying out loud is what's going to come to you and is what's going to be present in your life.
Well, it puts out a certain frequency out there. It's science, guys. So we're not like woo-wooing you all the way to a Blair Witch trial hanging us or something. Like,
yeah. And that was how I was feeling at that time, was I need to just literally be putting out positive, like, of course there was days that I was like crying because I was like thinking about all these things, like guilt about like leaving like my parents or like my friends.
Yeah.
But I knew that I couldn't just like dump that out because I had to be in a frame of mind of, again, like those things will work themselves out.
Yeah.
I need to be putting myself in a position of knowing that if it's meant to happen, it will. And I think there was so much peace and I was able to feel calm during such a like crazy time.
Yeah. One of the weird things, guys, that happened during this whole move that I think was like super freaky, and we've had a lot of these moments as sisters, especially, you guys know it's season 2, you know our story, our history. We're half sisters. It's called the Sister-ish Show because people always were like, oh, you're not really sisters, so it's like we're sister-ish. Anyway, our lives literally were mirroring each other exactly a year apart. So last season I talked about, you know, selling everything I owned and moving my family of 6 and my husband leaving his only job he's ever known his entire life, and just like how expensive peace is and what it costed my family, right? And so it was literally when Sean and I got the opportunity to move to South Florida and the Keys. This was never, guys, and I think it's important for you to know this, Athina and I never looked at each other and said, we're going to end up together.
Never.
When we decided to do this podcast, which again, going to the law of attraction, when we decided to do this podcast, we knew we would just figure it out. But this right here, guys, what you're seeing, photo shoots in studios in South Florida, or actually being able to touch her foot on an episode, was not something that we thought was going to be happening. And so putting that good juju and frequency out there and being like, no, we're going to figure this out. I mean, we're obviously going to turn this into a business together, and it is a business. But going back to when she got the opportunity to the freaking date. Like when we came here apartment hunting, which obviously everything was really on the DL, like we weren't sharing it with you guys. I wasn't talking about it on my social media, which I'm an oversharer by nature, which I'm going to talk about when it comes to your dreams, because you got to hold back a little bit there. But, you know, it was literally my memories were popping up on my phone, and it was to the date, guys, to the actual date. She's looking at apartments when I literally was selling my home.
It honestly, even when we came apartment hunting, because once the job was secured for him and I knew, and I started telling like my work and my friends and family, within like a week later, I booked a flight and was flying down like 2 days before her birthday in November. So everything was super fast tracked and super fast paced. So, you know, once we found out, it was like go, go, go of just trying to figure out the logistics of things, and you know, me leaving work and him leaving work. And so it was wild because we had got a hotel together for one night Jackie drove up to come look at places with me, and we're literally sitting there. I remember it was the Novotel in Brickell. We're sitting in like the hotel room, and we're getting ready to go to dinner that night, because that was a whole other stressful situation of just trying to see 12 apartments in a day.
Yeah,
but
that was
it
so
all worked
exhausting.
out.
Yeah.
But we're sitting there, and you're like showing me these memories popping up on your phone while we're like getting ready for dinner. And you're like, a year ago today, like you and Sean drove up to like
we had to take,
drove down, I guess.
Yeah, we had to basically, when we sold our house, we wanted to do one and done with the boys. We didn't want to like make them whatever. So what we did was the same exact thing. Like I was in South Florida staying in a freaking Miami hotel to the date of when we were looking at apartments for her, because Sean and I drove down and then we flew back up.
Yeah.
We did 2 moving
I would
trucks.
love like one of those, I don't know what it would even be called, like those people that study like dates and times. Like they need to like analyze our story.
I know.
Like if you do that, it's please help us, because I want like a
into the show. Please email us at sisterish@gmail.com.
Like I need a scientific analysis of like what that means, because it's bizarre. Like we're sitting in that hotel room with chills, being like, this is so freaky. Like,
and what does it mean? Like
that's what I want it to be explained. Like someone please explain, what does this mean? Because it was just so freaky the way the timing was so aligned to exactly 1 year before. And I don't know. I don't study that, so I have no idea, but it was insane. And I said I'm a very private person. Like I don't tell people anything. And
she doesn't.
She
doesn't share. Like I don't know if it's like, obviously my Instagram is a business and community that like it actually, if I'm not sharing online, everyone come make sure I'm alive. Like Sean might have murdered me or something, because that's like when people know I'm not good, is when there's not a lot of story shares, or like I'm not posting reels. I mean, obviously
like, are you kidnapped?
Yeah. Like
are you well?
Did she die? But Athena's the opposite. And so it's like if she shares, I'm always like, oh my gosh, my sister shared something.
Yeah.
What is this? So I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the big things that I want to touch on, I'm an oversharer by nature. Mm-hmm. And as a big sis talk for you and our listeners, I want to just say that unfortunately, I learned the hard way that you need to keep your cards close. So I like commend you, and I see the maturity in, you know, when there's big life changes, especially, and when you are going for that big goal, or you're making a huge transition or life change, whatever, not everyone has the best intentions for you. And not everyone, you know, in our Greek culture, it's the evil eye. It's whatever you want to call it, okay? Our thoughts are powerful. And if someone is waking up every day and they're like thinking these negative thoughts towards your family or your goals or your dreams, I'm not saying that they're putting a spell on me or like, you know, whatever, but keep that shit close. Don't word vomit. Like imagine if you went on your Instagram and was like, oh my gosh, so Joey got this opportunity, but I don't want to jinx it. People would say.
Absolutely. You will not catch me dead. Like I always joke and I say, like, if I didn't have a high school boyfriend, like people wouldn't even know I'm engaged. Like people wouldn't even know I'm like have a boyfriend until like there's a rock on my finger and like it's posted like we're married. Like I feel like, and I've said it so many times, and I'm glad that it's something I've learned at my age, because I think
it's not normal for you to know that. Because I literally like had to learn this the hard way last year. A lot of weak ass minded people can't handle good for you.
Yeah.
And that's why you gotta guard it.
What people don't know, they cannot ruin. And I'm so glad I learned that.
People are still gonna have that projection when you are sharing, but during the process of something,
it's already enough as one person or two people going through a big life change, dealing with your relationship dynamic, your relationship with your family and friends changing. Yeah. It's already enough dealing with all of those different logistics, moving out for the first time in your life, that I cannot even imagine trying to share news about job changing and just like all of that before things were solidified. Not that it necessarily would have changed the outcome, but I again believe words have such power, and people's words in your life have more power than you think. We've maybe all had like that friend or that person that when you tell them something, you get that little feeling of like,
oh my gosh,
wait, was that like low-key a backhanded comment they just made? Like,
it's it's also family.
Are they trying to fish?
Family
are
does
they just
that.
Curious? Like, and sometimes like Joey actually like
picks up on it.
Or no, like sometimes he'll be like, Athena, like stop, like, because I will literally be like, was that an actual, like, were they actually complimenting, or was that backhanded? And he'll be like, no, like, you're overthinking it. But I really am I pick up on those things, and so I was very, very careful with that during the whole process. But I want to share that as a 20-year-old girl, which this is something that I feel like I made very clear in previous episodes, and I want to touch on it again. Like, you look around at everyone, you think everyone has their life figured out. I promise you they don't. Like, the reason why I'm telling you, even I brought
is
up
her train wreck big sister.
Yeah, no. Well, the reason why I'm even bringing up the fact that like I am so private about things is because I want to say, like, there was many times this past year before all of this, us sitting in a parking lot in my car, just like me crying. He wasn't crying, but just like feeling so like dazed and confused. Like, what the F is going on? Like, nothing was going bad. Like, nothing happened. No one lost a job. No one, died. No one, whatever. It was just like, I'm very in tune. And I'm very in tune as a woman. And also just like, I don't know if it's the Greek in us or what it is. We're very in tune with just everything around us. And I was so in tune with like things that I started feeling just everything's going good, but I don't feel like something feels off, and
or
like
missing,
I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
we didn't know if it was like, let's just try to move out. Like, there was nothing bad happening. It was just like, I feel like our relationship wasn't necessarily progressing
as you'd like it
as
to.
I would like it to. I felt like it was ready for us to take that step, but we didn't know what it was going to look like, because I was always like, I'm not moving out if I'm like, I remember saying this, I'm not moving out when I live a pretty good life at home and like
backsliding into like,
and you almost feel like you're taking a step
like
back.
You can't shop organic groceries,
right?
You can't have
shop,
your gym membership,
vacation, whatever. And it's very hard because I see a lot of people in their 20s saying they had to move back in with their parents, and there's this pressure of like moving out and like supporting yourself, but then you want to live a certain lifestyle of like shopping how you want, or vacationing how you want, and then, or even just saving how you want, which I don't know what that is, but like there's this pressure. And so that was something for me that it was one of those things that always held us back from like actually ever
doing it
in New Jersey where we were.
Yeah.
It almost was easier to like be like, let's just move to Florida than like, let's move out in New Jersey and find a place there, because it's like, well, why, when I can just stay at home and like, you know what I mean? Like, save money. So I say all that to be like, there was so many moments of literally a mental breakdown, and I couldn't explain like why. I just remember crying and just feeling like, I feel like I'm meant to do more. And I feel like I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't overly happy with my life, to the point of like being so excited to wake up every day. Oh my gosh, I love my life. Like, I had to force myself to like my routine. But there was literally, I told you, in the Wegmans parking lot in Morris Plains, I'm sitting in the car after we buy groceries, hysterical crying, just being like, it doesn't feel like right. So those mental breakdowns and those like dumping of emotions definitely happen, and that's normal because you're human. But
yeah, I think it's important that you bring that up, because people will watch you do these crazy things and they think you don't have those like breakdown moments,
and it happens,
and as if this happened overnight.
Yeah. With visualization, I feel like vision boards are trendy now, and everyone's like posting pictures on their walls of what their life wants to look like. But I don't think it's not an aesthetic. It's not. No. It's not about having an aesthetic, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're all about aesthetics and how things look, but there's a power in your words, and there's a power in speaking things out loud. And I want to touch on what things that looked like in my life, how we did that, because me and Joey, both very visual people, very like, I could sit there and talk your ear off for 5 hours, hence why we're here. But there was a lot of things that I distinctly remember speaking out loud and doing that now looking back that I'm here, I'm like, oh, that's wild. So
what were they?
This past summer in July, we booked super last minute flights to come here. I'm talking like literally, like we booked the flights like maybe 4 days before. And it was a trip we were going back and forth about because I, at that time, was personally assisting, and I had a week off that week, and I was like, oh, like, what should we do? It was just something that was not planned at all. Like,
yeah, this wasn't like a year planned vacation ahead.
So, like, 4 days, I'm like, how do you feel about just, like, us visiting Miami? Like, I feel like it'd be a really good, fun vacation for us. Like, it's a good scene for, like, we can beach, then we can go out, and it's just, like, fun.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, like, we were kind of going back and forth about it. I was like, let's just do it. Like, we're not going to regret.
In true Athena fashion, just like her big sis, she's like, let's go.
Let's go. Literally, it wasn't even a long trip. Like, it was like 4 days, I think.
I didn't even come see you.
No. Like, it was very, like, we were here for a few days, beach, dinner, we went home. And that trip was in July. And that was, like, the blossoming of, like, Joey's first time really experiencing, like, here. He visited Miami once, and then we moved here. So I've been here only a couple times, but I got, like, a general gist of the vibe, whereas he had never. So that trip, the way that happened was just super crazy. And I'm so happy that I pushed for that because we had that experience of, like, the few days here together. And being able to experience that, and then if someone told me 6 months later I would live here, I would have laughed in your face and been like, what are you talking about?
I would have laughed in their face as well. Like, it's like, when you wish upon a star. Like, what? Is this Make-A-Wish or something? Like,
so that trip happening was the blossoming of, like, oh, wait, we really love Florida. I mean, I knew I always loved Florida, but I think spending days here, just us, like, not a friend trip, was, like, super cool. And it was, like, the first little bud of, like, wait. I also didn't know that the entire year he was journaling and said in May of 2023, mark my words, by the time I'm 25, I'll live in Florida.
And then she also didn't know that when you guys came in April, because if you remember when I was driving you back to the airport, I said to you, how much money would you need in the bank to, like, relocate somewhere else? We were, like, having this whole conversation.
Whole logistical
talking about, like, when you guys left in April after you visited us, and that was Joey's first time at our villa. Joey, because we didn't have our 305 group text yet. Joey texted my husband, Sean, they're tight, and he's like, keep me accountable to this. I will live in Miami, he says to Sean, by 2025.
I didn't know this.
She didn't know this.
Joey told me this.
He said
when
this.
we were here already, I think.
He said this to my husband, and this was April of 2023.
Yeah.
And she had no idea.
Not one clue.
And then Sean comes to me and goes, oh, isn't this cute? And I was like, wait, what? And so then, like, it kind of was planted in my mind, like, no, like, Joey really wants to, like, because obviously for my future nieces and nephews and then my sons, like, having you guys here would selfishly, like, we open this up, like, change the game for me in my life. Like,
I had no idea
so
about that.
He literally wanted Sean to hold him accountable to that goal.
And we're very open with each other, me and Joey. And she
didn't know.
And I didn't know that. And
I didn't tell you, which is weird.
No. Because
I thought it
was such a passing.
But it also was like a Disney character. Like, yeah, okay, 2025 Miami.
Like those people that are like, I'm going to go move to Italy. And you're like, yeah, okay.
Sure,
like,
you are.
Have fun in the
I'm going to live
coast.
in the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
Sure you will.
So the journaling thing I had no idea about. Found out after we had moved here. He was like, oh yeah, by the way, look at, like, he did it in like Snapchat or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing these like journal entries of him saying these things. I'm like, what the actual, am I being pranked right now? Like, what is going on?
Wait, what about your caption on your picture when you came here?
The first time I visited Miami with my friends, my caption on
this is crazy,
my
guys.
post
This is crazy.
Was 1 like and I'll move here. That was 2022. What?
That's what I'm saying about these
and
messages,
it's like stupid. And I don't even know why I wrote that, because it was just like,
but it matters.
I was here on vacation.
It matters.
It does matter. And it's crazy because, again, now looking back, I'm like, what? Another thing, you guys, again, people might think this is stupid, but I am a big sunlight girl, okay? I want to be in the sun all day long. Hence, I now live here. But to me, I always have said floor-to-ceiling windows are my actual dream. Like, when I live somewhere with floor-to-ceiling windows, I have made it in life. Here I am. I have not made it in life. But
I mean, you have, to me.
But thanks.
Love you. Biggest fan.
Our bromance.
Our girl-mans.
So I have always spoken that, and I've always said floor-to-ceiling windows is something that's such a big, like, goal and dream of mine. And, you know, for you, it might be something else. For you, it might be a backyard or a pool or whatever the heck it is. But for me, it was floor-to-ceiling windows. I was like, I want to be sitting, looking out of my apartment and just see sky from top to bottom.
Yeah. And what is this I'm looking at right now?
Sky, top to bottom.
Floor-to-ceiling windows.
So that was something and this is what I want to touch on, is be specific with your visions for your future. Be so specific. For me, it was floor-to-ceiling windows. Anytime we would drive by a house or apartments with floor-to-ceiling windows, whoever was in the car with me, I would look over and be like, look at those floor-to-ceiling windows. Like, I'm going to have those one day. And when I do, like, that's going to be when you know. And so that was something for me that was such a big deal. And I distinctly remember looking at Joey and being like, we're going to move into an apartment and we're going to be like sitting on our bed and we're going to look out the window and see sky from top to bottom. And we're going to look at each other and like be so happy and content and still humble, but so happy and content with where we are that like, I just know that it's meant for us. And again, another thing I want to touch on. I saw this on TikTok and I resonated with it so hard. You want something so bad in the future because you already have it. And floor-to-ceiling windows.
I have some chills right now. Say it one more time.
You want something so bad because you already have it in the future. And that was how I felt with floor-to-ceiling windows. Again, literally,
and it's so interesting because it can be it's like
anything.
Like you just said, for us it was the Florida Keys and the freedom. So touching off of that, and man, that's so true. It's like, why there's been so many times in my life that I'm like, why do I have this desire?
Yeah.
Where did this? And it's like, I believe God puts that on our hearts for a reason. And like you just said, it's because that's your purpose and that's the plan. And that when you're in alignment, there's nothing like it. And when you feel, when it's some words of advice, okay, little sisters, if you are forcing that shit like a circle into a square hole or vice versa, it's not in alignment. Yeah. It is not in freaking alignment. And so Sean and I would come down to the Keys, you know, once a year, then it turned into twice a year. And every single time I came down here, I called it the Keys disease. I wouldn't leave the island of Marathon, Florida until we had our next vacation booked. I felt peace. I know it's because we're like island people. Yeah. And like, I know my like sign is a water sign. People would say, I think, right? Yeah. I don't know anything about that shit, but I know I'm a Scorpio. Anyway, so.
You a freak?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. But so we would come, and every single time, because I homeschool and I'm a big dreamer. I'm like, I could live here. Yeah. And every time Sean would be like, babe, like no one lives in the Florida Keys. Yeah. Like you vacation here. Abso-freaking-lutely not. You're insane. And like, that's my type A husband, and that's why we work. But we came here, not here, but you guys get what I'm talking about. We came to the Keys April of 2022, and this is like my own story going off of what you're talking about. And I can remember the vacation was coming to an end. We were here for 2 weeks, and I looked up at my husband. The boys weren't around, which there's nothing I could say that the boys would find crazy because like I'm just a crazy mom.
You're you.
And I look at him and I said, I have no idea how. I have no idea when. So I'm not married to the timeline or what the frick it's going to look like getting here. I said, but mark my words, we will live in the Florida Keys one day. And it's not going to be when we're like 60 and retired.
Yeah.
I said, my boys are going to be island boys and we are going to grow up and raise them and live here. And Sean kind of looked at me and he just like shrugged it off. But I was dead AF serious. And this is the thing, guys. Stop being so married to overthinking your dream. Mm-hmm. God gave you this call for a reason.
Intuition.
This intuition, this gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, spiritual or not. I believe when I said that out loud to my husband, I realized, guys, I overthink. I have days where I'm overthinking at 36 years old. And like, obviously y'all know I went through a very tough year, which we're going to touch upon a lot during this season. I have no idea why I said that to him. Check this out. April 2022. December 1st of 2022, our asses were in a moving truck.
Drove 18 hours.
And I moved to the Florida Keys. Like,
powerful.
Case closed.
Powerful.
If some Karen, Christian Karen, even though the Bible talks about all the time about taking our words captive,
yeah,
our thoughts are powerful. What you say about yourself matters. What your toxic in-law says about your children matters. You have to set these boundaries. You have to say it like it already fucking happened.
Yeah.
And I had no...
First F-bomb of the season.
I think it's the third one.
Is it?
Yeah, I said some in the beginning.
So normal to me that
she doesn't even realize it anymore at this point. It's just like blurt it out, whatever. No, so you have to unmarry yourself from how am I going to get to that dream?
Yeah.
But I know that it sounds crazy. I know that it sounds crazy if I say to you that I told my husband this, but how do you explain then that just like you, 6 months later, my family's in the Florida Keys? You need to visualize yourself already having hit that goal. That's my advice for you guys. That's my little tidbit of, wisdom as your big sister. You must do that. Why? Because when you think about that end goal for yourself, for your family, it might not be Miami. For me, it wasn't Miami. It might not be Florida Keys. It definitely wasn't Florida Keys for my sister. But what happens is you show up as the woman that hits that goal now. It's like it's already yours. You show up, you do that 1% shift every single day, and it comes after. And by the way, like the fact that you said the reason why we want it so bad is because we already have 100%.
And again,
100%.
This is such... You will feel a weight lifted off your shoulders
so much lighter
when you take that pressure off.
Yeah.
And you know in your heart and in your mind that what's meant to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you want something and you work towards that, because I also want to say it's not just about, obviously we're not sitting here, let me just like think things away and not do anything.
Yeah, it's like I think there's toxic manifestation out there, like toxic positivity. It's like
100%.
Look, ready? Money will come to me. It's like get off your ass, bitch, and work.
Yeah,
like you have to move the mark every day.
There has to be an action.
You have to move the mark,
obviously, towards your goals.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I believe that. You can have all the action in the world. If your mind is not ready to receive something, 100%, you're not going to get it.
100%. What did I say last night at dinner? You're not at that business goal, or you're not where you thought you'd be in life because you are not her yet.
Yeah.
And you guys really need to like chew on that. And it's tough love, but like, if you are taking all the actions, but your mind is a toxic place, like she's saying, and you're not open, that's the other thing is stay open to new freaking opportunities.
Yeah.
It might not look how you thought.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what the F was going to get us to the Keys and how, because of the price point of living here and what I thought Sean would be doing or I would be doing professionally. So let God work how he's going to work this out. You know what I'm saying?
You don't need to have
let the universe do its thing. Like whatever. I'm trying to touch on everything for all our different viewers that have different like belief systems. Like
You don't need to have all the details figured out. It's okay.
None of us have it all figured out. Like you saying.
Yeah. It's okay to not know how things are going to work out. It's okay to not even know what your life is going to look like in 6 months or a year. I don't know. And I'm so okay with that. Like I sleep so soundly on my pillow knowing that like I wake up every day. I'm a human. I have meltdowns and I cry all the time, but I show up like as best as I can. I enjoy my life. I surround myself with people I love and trust.
Yeah.
And I know that like life works itself out and I don't need to have this overlooming pressure, whether it's from society or social media or family or friends or just people around me, pressuring all these different, every aspect of your life. Always like people feel so pressured and you need to just let that go.
It's programming.
You need to just let that go. You are in the right place right now. You're in the right place tomorrow. You're in the right place a year from now. You don't need to feel like comparing yourself to everyone because even the people that look like they have it figured out
don't have that shit
and
together.
Let me tell you something. I'm 20 and an infant. But when I was in middle school, I remember looking at people in high school and thinking, "Oh my gosh, they're so put together and they know what they're doing and they're going, doing their life path." And then you get there and you're like, "Oh, what?" Like
I'm
no
your
one
best
knew.
example. Like let's just call it what it is. I'm not afraid of this. Like I show her because she sees me naked and has sponge bathed me naked, literally drunk.
I have, lucky me.
In the past. Yes, I know. But like all the time I'm looking around like, where's the adult? Oh shit.
Yeah. We joke about it. I'm like,
all
wait,
the time.
I have to pay the bills? Like,
wait, what?
Wait.
Oh wait, I am your mom. Okay. Yeah.
You mean there's not like a dad paying the rent here? No, it's us. And like you have to just laugh through life, honestly, and just.
But also know that there's no mistakes.
No mistakes.
There's no mistakes. And even on your bad days, you have to truly believe that like all things, not some, all of them are going to work out for your good. And, I obviously that's easier said than done. Yeah. But I think that the thing I want to really for our listeners like close this with is sitting here. I know you and I, it's like, guys, every time I drive to Miami, every time like you were on our pink boat and you're like, we kept saying to each other, we're going to have these moments. Like, is this real? Like she was like, I'm having one of those moments right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But like, what words of advice to our 20-year-old listeners, to our 30-year-old listeners that maybe are thinking about, changing careers or doing the crazy things, selling everything, living abroad? Like, what would you tell Athina from a year ago? So she was still a teenager. What are some things, some words of advice that now that you're on the other side of this move? Yeah. What would be some things?
So in Athina fashion, one thing is a thing I did right. So my word of advice is
you did something right?
Yeah, something I did right that I just want to reaffirm.
We want to boost our
good job, boost my ego. Is keeping things private, building things in private.
Yeah,
keeping your plans private. Manifesting and saying things out loud to people that you can trust.
Ride or die only.
But keeping the rest
hush
at bay.
Yeah.
No one needs to know, you guys. No one
powerful.
No one needs to know your 5-year plan, or I don't have a 5-year plan. So if you have one, no one needs to know it. Or if you're me, you don't need to just you don't need to share intimate details of your own journey until after, because even people that you think are in your corner, and this is not like, toxic friendships, like don't be friends with people. I love my friends and I love how I have a few people in my life that I trust.
I don't love my friends. I have like one friend.
Well, then they're not friends.
They're enemies, actually.
Exactly.
I'm joking.
So
I'm not joking, actually.
I know you're not.
Actually, I hate everyone. And yeah, so no. I think I have 2 friends.
I have 2 other things I want to touch on. One of those things is trusting in the process. And the process is going to look different for everyone. But trusting and having faith, and just knowing that you are on the right path. There's a reason for everything happening. And you may not know it in the moment, but there's a reason that I had a mental breakdown every 2 weeks for like 6 months straight. And like, I didn't tell anyone. But like, there's a reason for that. And now I understand why, because I had to understand now to look back and see, okay, I was very unhappy with how I was living. And other people had no idea because I'm a fake it till you make it girl.
I have COVID, guys.
And no one knew because that's how I was. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, I literally just had to keep going. Like, imagine
One
I was
foot
just
in front of the other.
I was just like, F this. Like, I don't really think anything I want is gonna happen. So let me just like
people
forget
are always giving up before. That's the thing too. I'm so glad you said that because you are on the verge of a breakthrough, and you quit. Could you even imagine if in those moments you actually were like, okay, no, I'm going to move into this like shitty apartment in North Jersey and like you're locked into a lease for 3 years and then that opportunity, like people around me all the time, I see this, you have to know that you, and tell yourself you're on the verge of a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And you keep going one foot in front of the other. And that's exactly what you did. And I think that that's really great advice that you're giving people is like.
And myself, like I like looking back, I'm like, and I knew it in my heart, and that's why we're here, because we would sit in the car and just have conversations, and I would be like, no, like we have to just believe that. But I think going through what I went through and now being here, it's like so reaffirming to know that like I was right, and I just want people to feel like that. And also another thing that I noted down was life is literally a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like don't expect to have it all figured out.
Strap in, baby.
And it's okay to have literally no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
But again, putting one foot in front of the other and having faith in the end goal, I think is something that is so powerful. And I can't even imagine if I didn't say things out loud, as crazy as it may sound in the moment. But now looking back, like my passwords being that.
The other thing I want to say is trust yourself.
Yeah.
That was something that I had to last year really
learn.
Like, bitches, can you just look in the mirror and be like, I'm a bad bitch and I trust myself. And even on the bad days, I trust myself. Even on the good days, I trust myself. How can you expect anyone to buy a product or sit in your salon chair or like, if you don't trust yourself, no one else is going to trust you.
Yeah.
And so trust the process, trust yourself, and put out that good, energetic vibe out there, regardless of how people treat you, regardless of narcissist family or friends or whatever. And, you know, it's already happened. It's happening. And show up as that bitch every day.
So happy we're here.
We're on the couch together. It's really freaking believable. Guys, if you like this episode or have any questions, please, every review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts helps our little podcast be seen, but I will speak it into existence. We will have millions of downloads very soon.
We're speaking it right now. Millions of downloads.
We're going to come going back to on a tour. Yeah, we want to do a sisters tour.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we
merch down the pipeline, of
absolutely
course. But if you guys have any questions or any comments, you know, every like, share, review helps our podcast be seen, and we cannot wait for an epic season together in South Florida. We are taking over.
We love you guys so much. We'll see you in our next episode.
Bye. Mwah. Hopefully I have a voice. We'll see though.